All right, here we go. It's Fantasy Football Now on FanStream Sports, powered by DSP Media. I'm Jeff Thidoff. You can follow me on Twitter, on X. Almost said it. I did say it. At That Happens. He's Chad Rink. Follow him on X, at Chad Ocho Rinko. Go to the FanStreamSports.com website. Also download the app. It's on Apple and Android, round the clock, programming on the go. A lot of great shows. I caught a few of them today while I was out on the golf course. And so really great programming across the board, all across the country. We've got people doing things that are great for us. The Fantasy Sports Facebook group, interact with hosts and other fans, listen, like, subscribe, share, do all those things, and we'll keep giving you great content, or in this case, mediocre content that we think is great. A lot to talk about today, Chad. Is now week one. As we're recording this on Monday evening, the Jets and Bills game is going on right now. Sans Aaron Rodgers, who came out and played in the first series. He gets hurt of theirs. I know that the Bills had the ball first. Rodgers goes down, looks like an ankle injury, goes into the medical tent, comes back out, goes back into the medical tent, then gets on a cart and goes back to the locker room. And now he's in a walking boot. There's talk about ankle injury, maybe Achilles. My God, Zach Wilson's playing quarterback. What in the hell do we do with all of this?
It's crazy because they were hyping the Jets up all year. Everyone's loving it. Rodgers, Wilson. And it's just sad because it was going to be interesting to see how he would do there. So we'll just have to wait and see, because if it's an Achilles, obviously he's done for the year. And if it's an ankle, it just depends. One of those high ankles, it could be a minute. But it looks like it's going to be a Zach Wilson-led Jets team for the immediate future at least, which I think just hampers all the Garrett Wilson shares if you have any. Luckily, they have Breece Hall, who just runs roughshod over everybody. So, yeah. But it's if you spend a high pick on Garrett Wilson, you are kind of panicking right now.
I would think, yeah. So now we got all these guys that were, people took Cooper Kupp. People took, if they drafted early, took Jonathan Taylor. And, those are things that if you took Garrett Wilson, Wilson was a round 2, round 3 kind of guy for the most part, but still he used a lot of draft capital on him. And now, granted, he's not hurt, whereas Taylor, is he's injured but on the PUP list, and Cooper Kupp's thing is because he's injured going on the PUP list as well. But nonetheless, Garrett Wilson, I don't know if you would have known that Zach Wilson was his quarterback, he probably falls to the 4th or 5th round, right?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I don't think he'd be going second, at least. He'd probably be late 3rd, but I would probably be more 4th, 5th round. Yeah. For sure, just because it's Zach Wilson. Aaron Rodgers, bumped his stock up. And they look good in all the little mini camps and in preseason and stuff like that. So it's just a shame, but I'm interested to hear what Mike Greenberg, if he even comes into work tomorrow.
He'll call him sick tomorrow. There's no way he's going to work.
No, it's funny because I follow his daughter on Twitter because she's just hilarious about him. And she's like, thanks for all the people checking in on my father's mental state. It is not good.
Right.
So,
yeah. But you think how many other big time injuries? And now, there are a few we'll talk about some more in week 1. But I was thinking back to, Brady got hurt in week 1 that one year, and who was it? Matt. Who was the guy who came in and played for him? Matt Castle came in. Yeah. I don't think they made it to the playoffs, right? But they still won 10 games.
I think they won 11 games. They won 11 games and still missed.
They missed?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember me personally, there was a year when we did I started this fantasy basketball league years ago, and I had the bottom picks, like picks 8 and 9 in his 8-team league. And I took Tim Hardaway and Larry Johnson, and both got hurt about an hour after I drafted them, and were out Hardaway was out for a year. I'm not sure Johnson was out for a long time, but his back thing never recovered. But I was trying to think of other things like that. We see guys get hurt in week 1, like, my God, this early, and how much it can really derail you. Now, the other guys talked about Cooper Kupp and Jonathan Taylor on the PUP list. Those we kind of saw. You could kind of forecast that coming, but nobody saw the Rodgers injury he's due, kind of thing.
No, I mean, he's been so durable. And I knew that was the storyline going in this year was the Jets' offensive line was not great, but Roger been in the league how long now, and he's never. I mean, he had a couple injuries here and there, but it's always weird on a week 1. Like, this is very Brady-esque, where it was I think Brady did it on their first drive. that Sunday too. So it stinks. The one thing about Rodgers is most people probably weren't using him as their QB1. He was probably in a lot of super flex, 2 QB leagues, those type of things. So this injury is not as for a team that has Rodgers, it's probably not as.
It's probably more damning for Garrett.
Oh yeah, exactly. For Garrett Wilson, yeah exactly.
Yeah. Other injuries. Now we had other injuries yesterday as well. Let's talk about J.K. Dobbins first. And Dobbins originally diagnosed as an ankle injury. Now they're saying it's an Achilles. He's out for the year. Dobbins, since he's out for the year now, in his first 4 years, I think will have played 24 total games because 2020, 2021, first 4 years, a total of 24 games. And he's on the last year of his rookie contract. Yep. So not only does it obviously kill your fantasy team, and you didn't use a high pick on Dobbins anyway, but not only that, but now you look at him from that standpoint of, God, he's not going to get a good contract next year now.
No, I heard some other people talking about it too, where he's probably going to get the league minimum because even if you can't expect him to probably be ready week 1, at least at 100%. So a team may take a chance on him just to have him as a part of a backfield of a couple other guys. But I just feel sorry for the kid because he has talent. He played here at Ohio State. So, we've seen him a lot, just from college, and he had the talent, and he just can't stay healthy. And he looked good yesterday before he got hurt.
Yeah, scored a touchdown. Yeah, looked good. And, it's come up major injuries and all this stuff. So it's tough to see that. Yeah. But also, from a fan standpoint, it's tough because you did use a draft pick on a guy. You probably picked him in what do you think, first 7 rounds, maybe 8 rounds?
Yeah, he was probably 7, 8. He was a big guy. If you went 0 RB, that's one of the guys that he was targeted very heavily for that. So I think he was usually 7th round, maybe 6th. Late in the draft season, but yeah, it wasn't a very high pick. But if you're still probably counting on him. Yeah.
But speaking of the quarterback situation now, I don't think in many leagues this guy was your quarterback 1, but Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis, he had I wouldn't call it a stellar debut. I'd call it a better than expected debut. But then he had to leave with a concussion, and he's saying he's fine. Nonetheless. Anymore now, Chad, when we used to, when you and I were younger, it was getting your bell rung. It was all, he's got to shake the cobwebs off, whatever, get back out there. Who knows how many concussions these guys had. But now we count them, especially at the NFL level. And so that's 1. Tua's got his numbers also. And we still, we know the next one for Tua could be in his career. You only got a certain number of concussions anymore you'll play with afterwards. He's got 1. Does that concern you in a dynasty league, or do you shake this off as the first one's a free anyway?
I think it's concerning just because he's a running quarterback, and he's like Cam, where they'll use him at the goal line, and that's where this one happened. And he could just put his head down, whatever. So it is a little concerning. I wouldn't just sell off all my Anthony Richardson shares because, like you said, he looked fine yesterday. Yeah, much better than I thought. Even Michael Pittman, he was on my bench in our league, which wouldn't have helped. I would have still lost. I double checked to make sure, but I really was kind of down on Pittman just because I didn't think he'd be getting the targets and stuff. So again, with a concussion, I think he'll probably be okay. This week he may only miss another week. And Dynasty, I'd hold just because he looked decent. He's got the talent, but just one concussion, I wouldn't. Go crazy getting rid of them.
What the shelf when the shelf life is for running quarterbacks. You have guys who run and then adapt after that and become more of a throwing quarterback because you can't run like this, like we expect Richardson to, like Cam Newton did, like RG3 did. You can't run with that kind of reckless abandon. Successful, no doubt about it. But at some point, and I don't know, I'm trying to think how long it is. Is it 4 or 5 successful years of running the football before you've got to establish yourself as a passer? I don't know what the number is on that, but I think that if you're a quarterback who relies on that, it's a 4 or 5 year probably thing before you've got to really start making your points passing the ball.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's probably right in that range. Yeah. And that's where guys like Cam, because, as talented and stellar and electric as Cam was, he never was a great passer. where guys like Michael Vick, he could adapt. Randall Cunningham, he could adapt because they were just excellent passers. Yeah. But guys like with Richardson, he might be able to develop into a decent passer. I think that's what's going to help Jalen Hurts. Because I think he's proven he can pass, and then it's going to be one of those things we got to wait to see with Justin Fields if he can do that. But yeah, if you have a running quarterback like that and he can't make that transition to become a pocket passer, then you want to sell on them earlier rather than later. So probably 3 years.
Steelers got their ass kicked by San Francisco. It was ugly. Like, I was so excited to watch it. And then I was ready to walk out of the movie halfway through. I was done. And the Steelers did not move the ball well at all. Najee Harris was ineffective, sat for a good chunk of the game. And they did not go to Deontay Johnson very often. They finally started going to him. He got into a groove. And then he has a big play and he falls down, grabs his hammy. And so I don't know if I don't think there's someone else to pick up on Pittsburgh after that. It's a tough injury for him, but we haven't heard the latest on how long he might be out. I haven't heard any news on what that prognosis is. Nonetheless, that's another guy people use a decent draft pick on. I'm not saying you didn't draft as high as Dobbins and those guys, but still, when you got Deontay Johnson, I believe most leagues, when you got him, you thought this is a steal. This guy's not going to go 0 touchdown catches in 85 or 130 targets, whatever the number was. But he's not going to do that again. He's going to bounce back. There'll be market correction. And so I know when I got him in leagues, I loved the value, and now it could be down the toilet.
Yeah, that was a tough one for me because I have him in a couple leagues. So, and again, with a hamstring and a receiver, you should sit him 3 to 4 weeks, just let it heal. Because if you don't, it's just going to keep re-aggravating.
Right.
And again, like you said, I think him being out, there's no one to pick. Allen Robinson, I think, had the most targets yesterday, but Allen Robinson's washed. I think it hurts Pickens too, because I think now you can kind of double him.
Right.
And they really have nobody else. Like Fryermuth was really the only one I think that
he got hurt too.
Yeah, I know, but
his chest.
Yeah. I mean, he'd be the only one I think because I think he could get a lot of usage now, and I think it puts Pickett down a little bit too, just because his number one's out. So it was a big blow for the Steelers. I thought there was some stuff they could do. It didn't surprise me that the Niners came in and did that because that Niners defense is ridiculously good. So, and it's a second-year quarterback. But I think long term, I think the Steelers, their arrow is pointing up. This could set them back a little bit.
Well, FYI, the loss of Deontay Johnson is not what is going to kill the Kenny Pickett value. It's the fact that Matt Canada is still the offensive coordinator there. That's the big reason that's going on. Aaron Jones, who I was kind of indifferent on because I believe this year A.J. Dillon, I said in my predictions in the season, I think that A.J. Dillon is going to outscore Aaron Jones this year. Jones is off to a great start, though. He has a hamstring injury, so we'll see what happens with that. But luckily for them, they do have a 2A running back, I guess I would say, in A.J. Dillon. Yeah,
so I was watching that game, obviously. And they didn't use Jones a whole lot in the first half, and then they talked to what's his name, Packers coach, in the second half said, "Hey, we got to get Jones involved," and they did.
Yeah,
it's So and he looked good. Like they are dump passing him, and then he got that hammy when he scored that touchdown. So the one thing with Dillon is they haven't used him much in the pass game because they usually use Jones. So the Packers will be fine if Jones has to miss a few weeks. The Packers are not going to miss a beat. They look good. I don't know how much of that was just the Bears defense is awful, but the Packers they moved the ball. Love looked solid. So
Matt LaFleur,
yeah, exactly, yeah. So they're gonna figure it out. They they've got talent all around. That's even that whole game was without Christian Watson as well. So when he comes back, they can just pass the ball. Luke Musgrave looked good. I feel bad. Love just underthrew him and he was wide open for that touchdown and he had to kind of dive for it and he couldn't get up in time before he got hit. So that game was not great for me, but it was Jones was good. and I think he'll be okay. Again, it's a hammy, but they can take their time getting him back, having Dylan there.
Getting that first win, being 1-0 is a big deal. If you're 0-1, you're a little more desperation to you. But the fact you're 1-0 now, you can absorb. I'm not saying you can absorb a loss easily. You can absorb it more easily, though, by the standpoint that you've got that win in the bag now. You know, it's a little easier to let Jones sit for a few weeks if you need to. The one thing that surprised me, and I know you put on the list here too, but like that I couldn't figure out, the damn Eagles backfield.
Like Penny.
So Penny was out. Penny was out.
Yeah. And Swift had one carry, I think.
One carry for 3 yards.
Yeah.
And Gainwell's the one who had 14 carries for 54. And I did get Gainwell in a few leagues late.
Yeah.
I picked him up late in a few leagues but that was early in drafts. As I got later into drafts, into the draft season, I thought, this is stupid. It's DeAndre Swift. This is dumb that I'm grabbing Kenneth Gainwell. But the people I drafted for early on, they're probably loving me. But, God, I was shocked by the usage in this game.
Yeah, and it's not like Gainwell was like running roughshod. He was like, what was it, like 14 for 50? That's not even that great.
14 for 54. He had less than 4 yards a carry. Yeah. Yes.
And that game was weird too because the Eagles got up early and then the Patriots almost came back and won that thing. So I don't, I don't know how much part of that was like Nakobe Dean got hurt. So that might hurt the defense a little bit, but that defense is stacked. So I don't know what they're doing. And again, it may have something to do with, Steichen's not there anymore. Running the offense, so they're trying something different. So I don't know. I was surprised to see that big a disparity between the two of them. And I don't know if Penny was hurt or if he was a healthy scratch.
They paid a lot of money to that guy.
I know they did, and I didn't hear any news about him beforehand. I don't have a whole lot of Penny, so I didn't really follow it. Right, but that surprised me that he didn't. And I don't even think Swift he might have had a reception too. I can't remember.
He had one reception. For 0 yards on 2 targets. So he had 2 targets and 1 rush. Yeah. What the hell?
Why bring him in? Why not just why not just pay Miles Sanders or something? So I don't know what the Eagles are doing. It was weird. I'm not buying Kenneth Gainwell long term either because I think it's just going to be one of those things. They're just going to decide, hey, this is a matchup I think Swift's going to be better at. Have him when Rashad Penny's back, they'll get him in. I don't want any part of it.
I don't either. I want nothing to do with any of that with that Eagles backfield. It's Patriots-esque, although Patriots this year now are better with Ramondre Stevenson, I think, as being the clear-cut guy, but it goes back to where the Patriots used to be. I expect the one guy from Notre Dame to come in and get all the carries. Who was that one running back they had with the big week and then missed a meeting and was gone?
I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember his name, but
they had that running back came and had a monster game out of nowhere.
Right. Yeah.
Everyone picked him up. Everyone put waiver claims in on the guy, and then he missed a meeting and was done.
And he's done.
That's what it feels like to me. Okay, give me some of your Sunday studs.
So we were high on Calvin Ridley going in, so he looked good, which made me happy. He just picked up where he left off. So if you got Ridley, especially if you drafted early, you were able to get him like 5th round. They're late in the draft season. He started going in the 3rd. So Ridley was a big one. I mean, he only had 1 touchdown, but he looked good.
Over 100 yards.
Him a lot. Yeah. Yep. Got 8 receptions, I believe. So that was a big one. Obviously the Tua Tyreek combo. I don't. We'll talk about overreactions, and I don't want to get. I was going to start the whole thing off like, "Hey, everybody, calm down. It's week 1." But I kind of kicked myself like, man, I should have taken more shots on Tua where you could have drafted him.
We could have had him over Trevor Lawrence.
I mean, you could have got him late, and I was high on Tyreek. He was one of those guys I was trying to target a lot in auction drafts. And I took him the 1st round in the Cincinnati draft, but that doesn't surprise me, with Tyreek. But like Tua, I mean, dude, he dropped that 1 touchdown in his breadbasket. It was like he was covered. Tua, if Tua's got time, he's gonna get the ball on target. So, and again, that's the Dolphins with McDaniel there. McDaniel is such a good play designer. He's going to get his guys open. So they're going to be fun to watch. And I don't think they need to have any kind of running game. If they had a running game, it would be ridiculous. But that's one of those teams too. I wouldn't really worry about trying to trade for their running backs. If you have Hill, awesome. If you have Tua, play him while he's healthy. And then we'll see.
457 yards there was passing. Amazing game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then Tyreek, that helps with my Tyreek getting 2,000 yards. So then he needs 10 more games like this.
Does.
Yeah.
You're on target.
I'm on target.
Right. You're on target for it now. Who else did you like on Sunday?
McCaffrey, people say, he would take out a 65-yard. Yeah, but he had a good game. Like, he had a 65-yard touchdown, but he looked good. Him and Ayuk, he was one of those guys that I think –
with 2 touchdowns, right?
Yeah, 2 touchdowns, yeah. He got targeted a lot. I think he was a guy that a lot of experts were talking about, saying he could surpass Debo this year because they just think he's kind of more talented.
Right.
I think it's one of those. I think with the Niners, you will see this type of line between him, Debo, and Kittle, and it's just going to rotate depending on the matchup. And McCaffrey stays healthy, again, showing why he was a top 3 pick. He's just good, and Shanahan's going to use those guys properly with that. And again, Purdy, that dude. I don't know how all these teams don't see that.
Okay,
he looks legit. He's still, like I say, he's like the only quarterback I think to win their first 6 starts and throw 2 touchdowns in each of the starts is what I saw. So,
we used to have the argument, though, by we I mean sports fans, that was it Brady that made Belichick, or did Belichick make Brady? And I think we're in the same kind of conundrum when it comes to Purdy. Yeah. Is Purdy making Shanahan, or did Shanahan make Purdy? I'm not sure on that, because Shanahan's got Garoppolo worked in that system pretty well. They've had guys who've worked in the system before. Right. And so it's unfair to Purdy, but I tend to give Shanahan more credit than Purdy.
Yeah, I think so, because if you look at Purdy's got probably one of the top 3 most talented offensive rosters in the game, and that offensive line is unreal with Trent Williams there. Like, it's just so good, and then you throw in probably the best defense in the league. I mean, the Niners, like, I was going in this season thinking the Eagles were just going to roll in the NFC. I think the Niners are going to be the team to beat if they stay healthy in the NFC.
Who else you got?
I was surprised too, like with Zay Flowers. Like, I know people are high on him, because he's got the speed and stuff, but they really targeted him. And I think with Monk in there, he loves the yards after catch guys, the yak guys, and that's what Flowers is. So I think they're going to use him and get him the ball in space, and I think it's going to be huge. It's going to help out. I know the whole offense in general did not look great. Like, Lamar did not have a great game.
No.
But it was the Texans, so it didn't really matter. So, but Flowers kind of surprised me that they used him as much. Not that he looked that good. And then also Tyler Algier, that was the big concern if you were drafting Bijan, is if they were still going to use Algier. And they did, and he looked good. And I was texting my buddy. I texted him some words about Arthur Smith, because I have Bijan in our league, and he sent me a text, and he knows sports. He's an editor for The Athletic in the NFL division, and he was like, maybe Tyler Algier was always that good, and the Falcons didn't need to draft Bijan at 8. And I thought, you know what? Because he and I both liked him last year from his college tape. So it's just one of those weird things where Atlanta, like, you draft Pitts early, you don't use them. You draft Bijan early, you are using him, but you already had like a decent running back on the roster, and you have a horrible quarterback. So what are you doing? So I think that's going to probably be most of the year. If both of them stay healthy, I think that's probably what they're going to do, at least the first half, is probably use Algier as much as they can. And then Bijan had 6 receptions, so he's obviously going to be using the passing game. But Algier was surprising that I think that they used him as much.
What did Robinson had over 100 yards, right? I think total yards.
Yes.
I think he had that.
Yeah,
he scored a touchdown.
He and Algier almost each had they had quite a bit on the ground, and then
Right.
had that.
So
so
I think that's going to be their model this year. I think they're not going to pass much. They don't trust Ritter. It's going to be a lot of running, those guys, and short passes to Bijan.
Yeah.
And he had a great move for his touchdown on the reception he had. So I think you're going to see more of that with them. As a person who's got stock in Bijan Robinson, I'm not concerned yet. I think they're both going to be viable options. This would be one of those situations where you got two running backs that are both startable on a team.
Right.
So,
oh yeah, exactly.
I'm not worried about that. And but a great game for Algier, though.
Yeah.
Jaguars offense. You mentioned Garrett Wilson earlier, and it looked like they were just they looked efficient. Lawrence had a decent game, not a great game, but a decent game also in that one. You got the running game was pretty effective, I think, for them as well with Travis Etienne. I think he actually had a decent game also. So. But the Calvin Ridley thing is the big story in that one. God, it was so much fun to see him doing well again.
Yeah, it was. And then like he is the one. Like I think Christian Kirk only had like 1 or 2 receptions. They did not use him much at all. So it's going to be the Calvin Ridley show. And Etienne did look good. Like, I know Tank Bigsby tried to lose him that game with that weird fumble he had. I don't know what he was thinking, but I think he'll. I think they'll use both those guys. I think that offense is going to be efficient. Again, I don't think it's one of those things now looking at it. I think they'll have games where they'll have to throw more, but I think Lawrence might be one of those guys. Like his lines could be like a lot of Aaron Rodgers is where he's not throwing for over 300 a lot, but he'll have to be like 3 or 4 touchdowns.
We had 3 teams that really the offenses just were total garbage. And I don't know if you want to call these. Do you want to do Sunday duds? You want to just lump this into freak out or chill out?
We can add it to freak out, chill out, because I think they're on both.
They're on both of them, yes. So let's do, DJ Moore was a stud first. Let's talk about that. Or dud, I'm sorry. Then we'll get the freak out, chill out. DJ Moore, huge disappointment. Bears offense in general, huge disappointment, right?
Yeah, I think you and I are both in the same situation where our offensive coordinator is not good. Because if you watch that game, and I did, like, it wasn't on Fields. Like, again, the offensive line is not good. He had no time. I think he had like 37 pass attempts is what we wanted, and he only had 29 less yards than Jordan Love. It's just of his 39 pass attempts, only 3 were for over 10 yards, which part of that is because he probably had no time. You can't bring in DJ Moore and target him twice. That's in scheme and that's in play calling. You got to just, hey, this is what we're gonna do. So hopefully they can fix that, because I can't have another year of like not Matt Nagy, but Matt Nagy offense. Right. So DJ Moore was a disappointment, but again, I think it's more on the coaching staff on that. So we got the Bucs this week, so we'll see what
happens there.
Yeah.
Okay, freak out or chill out. There were 3 offenses that were just, 2 were really damn bad. One just was inconsistent, but the 2 that are really bad. How does Burrow have 82 yards passing in a game against the Browns? We'll start there. And, they could do nothing. And I'm not sure if it's Cleveland's defense, if it's Cincinnati's offensive line, if it's fact Burrow missed all this time, but Burrow's missed time in preseason before and still been okay. They have started off slowly typically with Burrow in the season, but God, 82 yards passing, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm going to just say chill out here. I think the Bengals are talented enough. They've proven over the last couple of years. It's not like they have a new coaching staff and this is like, oh no, what's happening? So they've got continuity there. I think it's just that I think the Browns defense, and when I say the Browns defense, like Myles Garrett is ridiculous. Yeah. And they're good. I think they're good on all 3 levels. And they seem to have Burrow's number too. He has not beaten them in his career. So I think it's a combination of probably Burrow coming off the injury, not getting a lot of the reps. But I think the Browns D is you got to give them credit as well. So I would relax on the Bengals, because I just think they've got the talent there, and I think they'll figure it out.
It was raining. It was a tough road game, tough situation. The Browns treated that game as their Super Bowl. Yeah. They really did. Like, they really wanted it. And the Bengals are more like, we know it's a marathon, not a sprint. Right. We just want to get healthy through 18 weeks of the regular season, 17 games, and let's just get into the playoffs and see what happens. Whereas the Browns really put a lot into that game and wanted to start off on a 1-0 mark. And so no disrespect. Okay, disrespect to the Browns. The Browns wanted it more than the Bengals did, though. I really believe that. And the weather didn't help out, and Burrow coming back off the injury, none of that. It was like a perfect storm for the Browns to have a big game.
Right. It was, yeah.
Other side, though, Giants. Now, I'm more concerned about that. They looked really bad against Dallas.
Yeah, and again, Dallas defense is really good, but I don't know what, they're in trouble. If you're a Giants fan and you were excited, or if you took, Daniel Jones, buying him, I'd be freaking out on the Giants. I think I don't know what it is. Again, I think if you follow what the Cowboys hey, let's just pressure Daniel Jones, make him throw to his receivers that no one can name really. He has and Waller played too. It's not like Waller was out.
Right.
And they just, it was one of those things. It got to the point, it got so out of hand. Second half, I don't even pay attention to. But the weird part was they left Daniel Jones in for a long time. He got hit late in the game,
right?
And they asked Dable about it, and he classic, just macho man coach thing.
Sure,
no, I'd never plan on taking him out. Why?
Right.
Well, I want to make sure wanted to see a good series. Okay, it's not like you have some rookie quarterback. Don't be an idiot. Or maybe he's a genius. Dude, I hope Daniel Jones gets hurt because he's not that good.
I don't know who next is.
Move on from it. Maybe
Tito Smith's not there anymore. What do they got? Manning's not there anymore.
Yeah, but that's just it. Maybe he's a genius and realize, man, we suck. Maybe that first half, man, we suck. If I can get Daniel Jones hurt, then the pressure's off me, and we can go get Caleb Williams if he wants to play for us.
The Giants thing was concerning, but part of it also was the fact they fell behind so quickly, so early. Yeah. You had a punt, a field goal block return for touchdown,
field goal block for touchdown, and then
interception return for touchdown, right? And so that all happened in the first quarter,
right?
And they're probably shell shocked at that point.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned about the Giants than the Bengals, but I'm not freaking out about the Giants yet. Another bad week, I will be, but right now I'm not there yet. Seattle. Right. Killed a couple of parlays, so I'm pissed off about that. Go to hell, Pete Carroll.
Same. I took the -5, and
it was the last leg on these parlays. Yeah. All I needed was a Seahawks win or a Seahawks cover, and they did nothing of the sort. And a shock that they'd lose to the Rams
at home,
which they should never do. And everyone's got that kind of the Geno Smith just one really good year. Look at his career. He's never had a year like this. You can't have a year this late in your career and then do it again. And so everyone's already kind of looking at Geno Smith waiting for him to fail.
Yeah.
Nobody drafted him as a QB1 this year, even though you said he was QB5 last year among all of them. So, but no one took him as a QB1 this year. I can't believe any drafts. So people are waiting for him to fail, but I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think again, there's enough talent there. That game. I was kind of going back and forth. That game was still on with the Bears game, and then that Dolphins game. I just wanted to watch that one. So I think the Seahawks will be fine. I think it just didn't click for them. And it was just a weird, the Rams, they have nobody, but I think McVay schemed it up pretty well. And then I think people were out on Stafford, but it's you got to remember Stafford's been a good quarterback his entire career. He got hurt last year.
Sure.
So I think McVay they just outcoached them, and I don't think the Seahawks made enough plays. So I think it's just one of those games, and then they move on. I think they'll be fine as well.
We talked about Justin Fields before. I'm not worried about Justin Fields. I'm worried about the offensive line, I guess, but I still think Justin Fields. If you told me whatever the line would be, say, that he'd be a top 8 fantasy quarterback, I still think he will be.
Yeah, I do too. Like I said, they let him throw the ball 37 times. They just need to scheme stuff better and do a better job protecting him. Yeah. And I don't understand why, if the offense line's bad, why not roll him out more often? That's what I would yell at Matt Nagy all the time. So they just got to do a better job. Like I said, he did not look bad. That interception to Quay Walker was horrible. But all quarterbacks going to have 1 or 2 passes that are just horrible. And if the guy picks it off, then it makes it look worse. So I'm not concerned with Justin Fields. I know everyone's, all the Justin Fields haters are loving it, saying, see, he's not that good. He's not that good. And I think he is. I just think the Bears just still have some issues. And one of the issues, where's number 10? And I think if he doesn't try to play better next week, get rid of him. He missed a lot of blocks. He just looked like he was just walking out there. So that trade, now I can look back and say that trade was stupid.
Awful.
I was excited last year. I was like, hey, Claypool had a good rookie year. No, it's awful, horrible, bad.
Terrible trade for them. Yeah.
Yeah. That's on Ryan Poles right there. So, but I'm not too concerned with Fields. If you have them, don't
write it out. It's 1 week. Yeah.
Exactly.
What else you got on your freak out or chill out?
I think Atlanta pass catchers. I think it's you might be a little concerned if you took a chance on Drake London and Kyle Pitts, just because I don't think that team's going to throw the ball a ton. I think it's going to look a lot like the Bears did last year, where if they want Ritter to throw probably 15 to 18 times a game, and with that, if you figure Bijan's going to get 5 to 7 of those,
right?
It doesn't give a lot of targets anywhere else. I just don't think that team's going to throw. I think even when they get down, they're going to try to still run the ball as much as they can.
Or a lot of swing passes out to Robinson.
Right, yeah. So I think I was never on London at all this year. I like the other receivers when the draft came around. I did take some chance on Pitts because I think he was talented enough, but it was not a lot. So I think if you have Atlanta pass catchers, you could be a little bit worried. Hopefully you're not going to have to start them on a weekly basis.
I don't think with Pittsburgh, I was invested. The player I was probably invested most with Pittsburgh was Freiermuth when I waited on tight ends. Yeah. But I don't recall having a lot of stock in Pickens or Deontay Johnson, or I stay away from Najee Harris. If I can get Jalen Warren late, but if we got further into preseason, you couldn't get him late anymore because people were snatching him up early. And I certainly don't have a lot of stock, obviously, in Pickett. So the Freiermuth, obviously, he's injured, is going to change things quite a bit, but nothing else that I saw changed my opinion on Freiermuth, because I still think he's going to be have touchdown potential every week.
Yeah, especially if Johnson misses any kind of time. But I think they use Freiermuth all the time at the goal line. So I wouldn't freak out yet on the Steelers either, because I trust Mike Tomlin, and just we have to wait and see what this Johnson injury is. I think if they got to miss him for a couple weeks, I think they'd be all right, because Allen Robinson's a veteran. I think he's washed, but he still looked okay yesterday.
Sure.
They've got a younger guy, I think, that got some speed as well, and they just use Pickens differently, and they may just try to run the ball a little bit more. But we're not worried about the Steelers yet. It's just that division. If they start off 0-3, that could spell doom for them.
With the J.K. Dobbins injury now, it looks like the Ravens will likely sign Melvin Gordon to the practice squad, the lead number 3 back. It'll be Gus Edwards and Justice Hill. Out of those two, which one do you prefer? Which one do you put a waiver claim in on?
It would be Gus Edwards. I don't want Justice Hill's always been hurt in the past, and people are getting excited because he had 2 touchdowns. He had 8 carries for 9 yards. It was a Jerome Bettis late in his career stat line. So they'll use him more in the passing game. But Edwards has proven Edwards has, I believe, like 5+ yards per carry his entire career. I just think they'll use him more. Gordon's one, though, like that whole backfield now too, with Gordon being there. I think Gordon probably cuts into Justice Hill more, because I think Gordon's a better pass catcher than Edwards, and I think he's just a better player than Hill. So Edwards would be the guy that I would try to put a waiver claim in. Of all the guys that I think we'll talk about here, he's probably I think 1 on my list, unless you're set at running back, and then I would go another direction.
I think I like Justice Hill more because of the passing game factor. And Melvin Gordon is a better pass protector. Is probably a big thing about him. I think he's better at staying back to block when he has to protect the quarterback. But I think Justice Hill has more upside. I don't know. Gus Edwards, maybe he'll end up being the one who leads them, but I think Justice Hill's got a higher ceiling than Gus Edwards, which is why I like him. Who else do you like? By the way, Josh Allen now. They're in the third quarter. Are they in the fourth quarter now? I think in the third quarter still. He's got 3 picks now. 3 interceptions.
Really?
Yeah.
Hopefully one to Sauce Gardner.
What's that?
So hopefully one to Sauce Gardner, because I have him in the IDP league. So, the guy everyone's talking about. And
by the way, Jordan Whitehead's got all 3 picks for the Jets.
Does he really? Wow. Yeah. Okay. All right. But the guy, I'm calling this guy the week 1 waiver wire Viagra for all fantasy experts.
All right.
Puka Nacua. they're all going crazy over him. Everyone's loving him. If people were high on him early on, they're like getting all excited about it. But he's the Viagra because everybody's getting all excited about it. But okay, like if you need a guy, fine. I think he's going to be nice because I think he looks like Cooper Kupp. Like his route running is very Cooper Kupp-esque. So he's fine. And then he's fine until Cooper Kupp comes back. And if Cooper Kupp comes back and can play, then I don't think that guy's got a role. So if you really need a receiver, I just would not blow a ton of fab on a guy as great as his name is, on Puka Nacua.
Yeah.
Like right off the bat. I mean, and I don't know if I would want to waste my number one waiver wire claim this early on a guy that's unproven. Because, next week he's going to end up having like a 2 for 12 game, stuff like that. Because the Rams, I still don't buy the Rams being good, but he's going to be the guy I think everybody's going to flock to. He's going to be probably the number one waiver wire claim because he's probably owned in less than 5% of most leagues, I would imagine. Yeah. So, and like I said, I think he can fill in nicely while Cooper Kupp is gone. Like I said, I watched a lot of that game because it was pretty exciting. And I had Tyreek Hill. And he looked like he runs like Cooper Kupp. He's got these nice little routes. He can get in and out of his cuts nicely. So I think they're going to target him. I just don't know if it's going to be sustainable for an entire year.
Yeah, I think he is certainly he's the week one waiver wire darling, and people are going to flock to him. I'm not going to. I'm not going to spend what I would need to get him in the fab. I'm not going to waste a waiver claim on him in a non-fab kind of thing where you just put your claims in. I don't think he's worth a waiver claim right now. I would stay away from him. Who do you got next?
Another guy, a guy that I think I would. There's two guys really. I think I would probably spend money on. Edwards is probably going to be the safest guy, but I tell you a guy that I like because I think the Rams like him too is Kyren Williams. He out-snapped Cam Akers, I believe. He had more.
Didn't you just shit all over the Rams offense?
I did, but yeah. So I
just want to make sure I'm following this.
It is. So if you're going to take a guy like him because if the Rams are bad, they're just going to let him run. I don't know if McVay doesn't like Cam Akers at all or whatever, but
shouldn't Cam Akers be the guy there?
He should be, but he wasn't. I don't know if that's just the weird. Like,
I don't get it.
I don't know. I tell you, this week I would just kind of hold. Yeah. Let everyone else get these guys because I don't think any of these guys are a difference maker. Like I think Kyren Williams, like long term, could be just because he's a Cam Akers injury away from being the guy there, and he'll get the volume. I think the guy I really like is Rashawn Johnson. He looked really good, and that offense looked a little bit better with the Bears. Not that Herbert looked horrible, but I think he's going to be in a timeshare anyway. So again, I wouldn't. Higher ceiling
with Johnson, right?
There is because I think he can do it all. He can catch. I think he's a better runner. He's a more powerful runner, and he's a decent in pass protection. So I think of all those guys, I think I would, Rashawn Johnson. But again, if I've got the number one waiver wire claim, I'm probably just holding and see who's left. And if I have fab, like I'm drafting, I'm like running a guy's league, and it's like, he could use a running back, and I'm like, and they have like, they don't have a ton of fab. It's not a whole lot. And I'm like, and I put a claim in for Gus Edwards, and I'm thinking about it. I was like, I don't know if I want to do that just yet. I don't. And he's got Kupp, so I don't know if I should go getting. It's just one of those things. I don't think anyone is going to be like this year's Elijah Mitchell from a few years ago. This early. Again, don't freak out after week one. Things are going to change. Things are different. So I think most of these guys are just going to be kind of bench spots right now. And most of these guys are going to be bench spots hoping that they can do something. Like Tajee Spears is another guy where I think he was the one I think that had the most running back snaps for the Titans. And
which is amazing.
That was by design, I think, because I think they want to kind of keep Henry as healthy as possible. So again, the waiver wire, those are probably the main guys, the two in Baltimore, the two in for the Rams, Rashawn Johnson. Spears is probably one you probably don't have to even waste your waiver claim for. You probably pick him up because I don't think people are thinking too far ahead on that. So, but I would just kind of hold on the waiver wire this year and this week, and then just wait and see what's coming next.
Spears and Johnson, though, for me, like those are the ultimate bench players to have because they're high ceiling. Like I like both those guys more than Gus Edwards just because they do have a higher ceiling. It's kind of what you want. The bench guys, a lot of times are lottery tickets. You're really hoping one of them just cashes and overwhelms and overperforms what their draft stock was. And Gus Edwards, no matter where you draft, where you pick him up, he's not going to overperform. He might meet expectations. But Johnson and Spears Rashawn Johnson and Spears could both go way over that expectation, depending on how many snaps they get. Garrett Wilson caught a touchdown pass just now.
Nice.
Yep, it's 13-12 extra point pending on that game. So, all right. We've had no 80s references. We have no pop culture references. Are we going to skip those this week, or do you have something for us? Any lyrics?
No, I was hoping I was going to be on your radio show
on Sunday.
Didn't my big thing, because what happens is a lot of times people don't know, like, I don't know the questions. I just kind of go, hey, this is kind of what I would like to use. My big thing was hoping Bijan was going to have a big game. If he would have had 3 touchdowns, my thing was going to be Bijan's the man. And I was going to ask you guys, like, you know what kind of player he is? He's the kind you won't bring home to mother.
There you go.
Because he's a super freak. So that was my big one. And like, now I can't use it now. So I'll have to wait some other time on your radio show if something like that happens. But I can't have always the 80s ones. This was more, I knew we have a lot of cover today.
Yes.
All right. So yes, the Garrett Wilson touchdown has got me. I'm winning $1.50 in the showdown slate where I spent $20 on. So there you go.
I think I've got a parlay. It's got Wilson having a touchdown, but also having a bunch like 77 yards or 64 yards. He's only got 34 right now. 5 catches, 34 yards. It is a fourth quarter, less than 5 minutes left, so I'm probably screwed on that one unless you go to overtime. But,
I needed the I took the James Cook over 2.5 receptions because it was plus money. So I didn't go crazy. Like, I thought about it. I was like, man, I should probably put $100. Like, no, I'm not. I only have 900 in that. In the
got 4 catches.
How many?
4 catches. He's got 4.
Yes. So I just went 25. So I pretty much doubled. So that's how you.
All right. Again, fantasysports.com is a place to go. Get the app. Fantasy Sports available for Apple and Android. Round-the-clock programming on the go. Catch our show and a bunch of other great ones that we have amongst our talent pool. Fantasy Sports Facebook group. Interact with hosts and other fans. Like, listen, share, subscribe. I'm at That Happens on the X. He is at Chad Ochorenko. Chad, let's do this again. We got to knock out a few more before I go to Vegas. I'm not sure if I'll be in any kind of condition to do podcasts. I leave Thursday for Vegas.
You Thursday for Vegas. You not there just for the weekend?
Yeah.
Okay.
We fly Monday to Pittsburgh and then go to the Monday night game in Pittsburgh and Cleveland and back home Tuesday.
Nice.
So it's 30-year-old Jeff would think it's a great idea. 52-year-old Jeff is wondering how stupid he is to go to Vegas from Thursday to Monday, get an early flight on Monday morning to Pittsburgh, and then go straight to the game.
It'll be good.
It's stupid.
That's right.
Thanks for the time, brother.
All right. See you.